Hello everyone, my name is Allegra Miller and I am excited to be here with you today to share on the current astrology and my top picks in essential oils to be helpful, valuable during this time based on the energetics of the planetary aspects. So I have had this vision of doing these videos for a long time, and the catalyst for me to actually do it is that this week is, in my opinion, the most monumental astrological week of our lives yet. I'm going to get into that. My intention here is to spend the first half of the segment on the astrology and the second half on the essential oils. Both topics I could spend hours talking about, so I am going to be just sharing the most noteworthy parts that are helpful for me to know and hopefully will be helpful for you to know. So let's first off start with putting the astrology in context. I have been studying the work of several pioneering geobiologists, and we are right in the middle of a galactic current stream that happens about every 12,000 years. This current stream started December 9th and crescendos on December 21st. I specifically have been following a geobiologist by the name of Rory Duff. I encourage you to look up his work. Anyway, what this means in layman's terms is that the Earth is moving through cosmic pulses of gamma rays and neutrino streams. These are new informational systems, inevitably, from my perspective, upgrading on an epigenetic level our genetic expression. So it makes using the right tools during this time and knowing what the planetary aspects that you're working with, in my opinion, especially important. So in order to go into the astrology, it's helpful to understand the context of how this year started. January 12th, 2020, we had the Jupiter, Saturn, Pluto conjunction in Capricorn. The dynamics between Saturn and Pluto are related to challenging times, a sense of feeling constricted. That can be by authority in the case of what's been happening on the planet. That can be because of a pandemic. It can also be correlated to a likelihood of an abuse of power. This energy has been emphasized even more in the last few months with Mars being in Aries and Eris, the female awakener, also in Aries. Both of these running a square to Capricorn, the Capricorn planets, Jupiter, Saturn, and Pluto. All of these aspects are correlated with the clash of the individual not wanting to be constrained by authority, coming toe-to-toe with authoritarian powers attempting to control. This is an archetypal rebel energy, so we can see those, how that has manifested on a planetary level. And if you go, like I said, a bit farther out in what, in the authoritarian realm, we can look at just the power the disease has had. Anyway, Capricorn is the old paradigm systems, large bodies. I think of big government, big pharma, big institutions, giant corporations, basically the powers that have more money and more influence and therefore are more prone to domination, manipulation of the masses. So the direction that we're headed this next year is much more Aquarian energy, which I'm going to get into. Aquarian energy is much more about the community working together. So we're really at the tail end of these two polarities coming of community working together for the sake of the community, and then authoritarian powers attempting to control the community. What has intensified this polarity even more is that all of the planets apart from Uranus are moving direct in mid-January. So we are like right at the heart of feeling that momentum to move forward. So let's talk about this major conjunction that's happening on the 21st. In order to really understand that, we have to understand Jupiter and Saturn. Jupiter and Saturn are two of the largest planets in our solar system, representing expansion and strict boundaries, respectively. Saturn represents rules, regulations, traditional ways of doing things. And Jupiter is often referred to as the lucky planet. It represents new ways of doing things. It gives a sense that things are easy and positive. So the fact that these are coming together means there's going to be a push and pull between these polarities, between these two energies over the next year as they travel through Aquarius. Saturn is taking stock of life and looking at life and asking, are you on the right path? If not, what are you doing about that? And Saturn has an energy to nudge us, whether we want to or not, to look and to take action on whatever is inconsistent in our thoughts, words, action, and vibration relative to what the wiser, deeper part of us knows is most on track for our lives. So anyway, these two are coming together. The clash is basically growth and expansion, forcing us to look at the shadow parts of ourselves and our life. So what is uncomfortable to look at, what we maybe don't want to look at, this is going to be put heads up, lights up. It's going to be shedding light on that area. It's going to be asking uncomfortable questions, and then by asking those uncomfortable questions, working through that to ask yourself what lights you up the most, what are you most passionate about, what feels the most aligned and on track. So this energy will last until March 21st when it goes into Pisces. So let's just talk about this week a little bit. Today, as I'm speaking, it's Saturday, December 19th. And I am speaking from Grand Haven, Michigan. Saturn is finally moved out of Capricorn on the 17th, so 2 days ago, and re-entered Aquarius. I say re-entered because it was actually in Aquarius in March 2020. So if we think of what was happening in March, it kind of helps us look at some of these things that we're about to talk about. Jupiter follows 2 days later, voila, today. So you're probably feeling this, and maybe you're not, so I don't, but I personally am. On December 21st is the Jupiter-Saturn Great Conjunction, and this is happening at 0 degrees Aquarius. Emphasizing when any conjunction is at 0 degrees, it emphasizes the beginning of a new paradigm. Aquarius represents the intellect. It represents collective consciousness. It represents, I said this before, but the community working together as a whole. Community working together to benefit the community. Thinking about how individual actions essentially will benefit the bigger picture. So while conjunctions happen every 20 years, they happen in 200-year cycles. This is important to note with this energy because we are at the beginning with the December 21st conjunction, the beginning of a whole new cycle of conjunction. So how that works is we have the elements. The last 200 years were all in the earth element. All the conjunctions were in the earth element. This is the first conjunction that is the beginning of a 200-year cycle in air. So those are very different energies. So this is an extra monumental shift in the air has more velocity. It's much more, for me, I think of it as an energy of, I want it, I got it, I think it, I see it. So be very mindful of what we put our attention on because it manifests, especially taking into account one where consciousness is at. Okay, but back to this Jupiter-Saturn conjunction. Jupiter-Saturn conjunctions traditionally are very generationally oriented. They are leaps of consciousness, particularly emphasized when changing elements, like I just described. So this is a fundamental shift in culture and consciousness. The last time that Jupiter and Saturn were conjunct in general was 20 years ago, in 2001, when, if we look back, that was 9/11. And so we can see how that changed certain aspects of our lives. Before that, it was 1981, which was right at the beginning that HIV was having a significant impact on the way humans do business. Anyway, this particular conjunction I mentioned is at 0 degrees. That has not happened since 1405, which was the early Renaissance period. So, in my opinion, this is a different kind of resonance. It is a flower. I mean, it feels, my sense is that this is a renaissance of consciousness. This is a renaissance of also technology. So we will be seeing more and more people waking up, and I'm going to get into some of the other planetary aspects. This is more and more people waking up, a deeper level of rooted wisdom on the planet, more of a sense of working together. And also there could be monumental revolutions in technology, which they already are, but even more so with these energies. So I've heard a lot of people say this is like the Christmas star that's happening on December 21st, and that's not exactly true. And I want to say, so from December 20th, which is tomorrow, this is going to start to be visible. So we will be able to see this. It's definitely a time to take a conscious heads up and look up at the sky and see this. It's going to be amazing. From the 20th to the 24th, it will look like one big planet. So back to the Christmas star. The Christmas star at the time of Jesus' birth was actually Venus conjoining Jupiter. So this conjunction is actually going to be even larger than the Christmas star. Because the conjunction is happening smack dab on the winter solstice, it adds an element. It adds to the intensity. So the winter solstice is when the earth is farthest from the sun, at least in the northern hemisphere, so that the days, it's the darkest day of the year. Let's see. So Mars is in Aries. Let's see. Venus just entered Sagittarius. And there she's looking deeper, for deeper meanings with what's happening, more of a lighthearted, fun energy. Mars, I mentioned, is in Aries, which is moving forward, wanting to take next steps. That's coming against the third and final square between Mars in Aries and Pluto, which is all about transformation and evolution, happening in Capricorn at 23 degrees. This is happening, I didn't write that down, I believe December 23rd. Anyway, acceptance. This is about acceptance of timing, requiring forward movement. Pluto and Capricorn are rules, regulations, top-down power. Mars is in Aries. That begins a 2-year cycle. Mercury and Sun move from Sagittarius to enter Capricorn on the same day that all this is happening, the 21st, and are conjunct the galactic center at 27 degrees Sagittarius. So, whoa, that's a lot in one day. The celestial longitudinal conjunction of Pluto and Saturn is on December 21st. The conjunction at declination of Jupiter and Saturn is at the 24th of December, I believe. Anyway, basically, what this means is it's an unraveling of 3D level life. And if you don't know what that means, I encourage you to Google it. This is especially important to focus on what we want, not what we don't want. Not on the drama, not on what's not working. Because of all of these energies, it's vital to pull out all the tools to be in the best possible state, to be very attentive to your frequency. From my perspective, to take advantage of this galactic stream that we're being bombarded with, it is most advantageous to have your frequency be as high as possible. Anyway, I think I'm right at the midway point. That's all I'm going to say on the astrology. There's probably things I'm leaving out. Oh, I do want to say that on December 29th is the full moon. The full moon is in Cancer. Because the full moon is in Cancer, that has actually been the overriding theme of this moon cycle. So we had the total solar eclipse happening on the new moon, December 14th. That was in Sagittarius. But that because the full moon is in Cancer, it means that this whole cycle has been heavily under the influence of that energy. Cancer energy is ruled by the moon. It is highly emotional. I'm a Cancer, I can say that. Very much in touch with emotion. So all these planetary aspects that I talked about, the clash that's coming up is also going to bring those emotional patterns up to the surface, to be burped out, and so that we can move on. All right, so yeah, now I'm going to go forward and into essential oils. I've got some categories of essential oils. I could do a whole video on each one of these videos, but like I said before, I'm only going to share the most noteworthy parts. So, and also, all of these oils, I only use doTERRA. doTERRA is the best oil, in my opinion, the most potent vibrationally. So any suggestions that I make sure that you know that. Most essential oils are not safe to ingest, are not at all, they're a totally different species of medicine. These are actual medicine. And reach out to me if you have any questions on administration or purchasing. But let's start with the main category. One of the main things coming up to the surface right now is victim mentality and letting that go. So I have 4 oils specifically that would be my top pick right now for that. One is Clove. Clove oil specifically offsets the feeling of being dominated by authority or external circumstances. It helps individuals rise up to do what's the next right thing, regardless of pressure of peers, of authority, of society, etc. This helps us not be a victim of what is being imposed. It helps us feel protected, both literally and metaphorically. It helps us to both use our words and confidently say no to people, places, situations that are no longer in alignment for where we're going. It also helps us etherically say no by helping to bolster our energetic boundaries to be more energetically Teflon with energies that are unaligned and at lower frequencies. So that's clove oil. And with these oils, if you can, whenever an oil is to be used internally, aromatically, through breathing it in, and topically, I suggest that you use all 4 because those aspects will be different. That all adds a different energetic to the equation. And do your homework on what oil is safe. Reach out if you have questions. But anyway, so keep that in mind with all that I'm sharing. Next one is coriander. Coriander helps us be true to our heart and not do things according to the pressure of the news, culture, external circumstances. It helps us feel empowered when there is a sense of being controlled by others, exterior forces, or even maleficent forces within ourself. And when I say that, I mean like self-sabotage circuits. It gives the true self power to rise up and act congruently with inner wisdom. So to help act with integrity of thought, word, and action, and vibration with our inner wisdom. Okay, the next oil in this category is ginger. This is a great one when we are feeling stuck. When we feel stuck, it helps us get unstuck. This is a good energy. It's like a little Saturn in a bottle. It's going to nudge us, especially if we feel defeated by outside forces. It helps us feel committed, capable. All right, and then the next one is, I guess actually those are the only three I'm going to talk about in terms of victim mentality. The next category I'm getting into is cutting ties. That's a huge energy with the energetics happening right now. Anything that is no longer in harmonic resonance with what our heart is telling us is the next right step in our lives. These oils will be helpful in cutting ties with those energies. So let's see, I've got 4 oils I'm going to recommend to help release. Lemongrass is the first. Lemongrass is like sage in a bottle. It helps us clear negative habits, beliefs, behaviors, and replace them with positive. It's like an etheric shower and clearing negativity and clearing our connection with our divinity. It helps us to see things with more insight. It helps to let go of what is no longer needed. And that can be things, cleaning out a closet, lemongrass you want in the background. It can also mean relationships, helping you to discern whether or not you distance yourself from people that are no longer vibing with where you're called to go. It can help you discern whether you're casting them out of your orbit completely or you're just distancing yourself. Anyway, it's good for hoarders on any level. If you hoard people, places, things, energies, belief systems. All right, enough of lemongrass. Thyme is the next good release oil. Thyme helps us burp up negative emotions and self-limiting beliefs. It's kind of my go-to balm for anger, rage, hatred, the sense of feeling constrained in any way, constrained by the lower aspect of yourself, constrained by external. It also helps us feel that there's more than enough time, Time, and that nothing's out of alignment, that we are actually, regardless of our capacity to see, in alignment with divine time. It helps us to be more benevolent toward others and ourselves, regardless of differences. It helps us to be more compassionate with ourselves as we work through our emotional differences, and letting go of the lower frequency aspects of the self, so that the higher frequencies can come in. That they are in energetic vibration for that to happen, for us to stay or to be more constantly in a state of peace, joy, excitement, love. We can't be holding on to these ancient, old, denser vibrations. They may come, but it's the velocity in which we burp them out that's important. So I'm not encouraging us to not feel our feelings. We're human beings, but these help us not hold on to them for too long. Okay, the next one is tea tree oil, also known as melaleuca. This helps us cut ties with unhealthy attachments, again, to people, places, things, beliefs. It helps us reinforce boundaries and empower layers of protection, so that we are less at the effect of and more Teflon in the face of imposed constraint. It helps us cleanse and purge discordant energies. The last oil I'm going to be talking about is On Guard. On Guard is a blend by doTERRA that is phenomenal in clearing unhealthy connections and gives us a sense to feel empowered to bounce off domineering or downright invasive energies. And again, that's people, places, things, thoughts. It helps when we are feeling attacked, manipulated, controlled. It helps us to say no and stand tall in the face of pressure. It helps us to be an advocate for what our innermost wisdom is telling us. And I guess that's all I'm going to say about that one. Helps us feel safe. So because it very well could be, I don't want to plant the seed that it has to be, but it could be that anger is coming up in the energetics happening. Two of my favorite oils for anger specifically are Cardomom and Breathe oil. So Cardomom is a great anger rage balm when we are feeling frustrated. It helps us to see things in a sane context and not just let the anger go to our head and act out impulsively. It helps us be okay with what is, versus making someone or something into the enemy. It helps us just feel more in control of thought, word, action, vibration, essentially. Okay, and then Breathe is the other oil in that category. Breathe is another balm to rage, frustration, and resentment. I've mentioned this in a video a hot minute ago on that Breathe is very helpful in healing old grief, new grief, old grief, ancient grief. It helps us to be able to accept the good and release negative patterns. It helps us trust when we feel wounded. Okay, and then the third category or fourth category I want to talk about is pattern interruption. Because these energies are major unravelings of the old and welcoming into the new, essentially going from 3D to 4D to 5D, but depending on where consciousness is at, it's especially helpful to have some tools to interrupt these epigenetic programs. So my first go-to is Petigrain. It's an oil that comes from one of the most generous trees in the essential oil world. In that from the blossoms of this tree we get neroli, from the fruit we get bitter orange. So today it comes from twigs and leaves. It used to be that it came from the unripe fruit, hence Petigrain, meaning tiny seed. Anyway, it's earthy, grounding, citrusy, and normally it's very calming to the digestive system, the respiratory system, nervous system, cardiovascular system. It's grounding and centering. It helps heal family issues. It helps to reframe our genetic history in a positive context, seeing that the progression, seeing that the shadow side of, and this can be on a literal ancestral line. This can be on a race history. It can be on a human history. The patterns within the human DNA as a whole, consciousness as a whole, however you want to frame it, it can be reframed in a positive. And seeing the negative, the shadow, as catalyst for growth. Essentially, it helps us stop repeating harmful patterns and bring in new positive changes. I was at an event last night and I was sipping on lemon, lime, and Petigrain in my wine glass while full of water. A lot of other people were partaking in wine, and this is super powerful. But because I was at the event, I kept sipping on Petigrain. I really felt it when I got home. I'm like, whoa. Okay, and the next one in this category of pattern interruption is Siberian Fir. It allows us to gently take stock of our lives and tweak what needs to be changed in non-judgmental ways to bring in the new. It helps us to forgive the ancestral collective patterns that we are growing out of, and that our world is growing out of, and see them in the context of revolution from those ways to a deeper sense of evolution. It energizes us to evolve, essentially. Okay, that was Siberian Fir. Another in the fir family is Douglas Fir, and this holds an ancient elder, wise elder sense. It's that wisdom that helps us interrupt specifically unhealthy generational patterns, and to similarly see them in the context of stepping stones with a sense of gratitude. So honoring the intimacy of bloodline, and again, beyond that, the intimacy of the entire framework, the entire consciousness as a whole. Okay, and then couple more oils in this category. DDR Prime. This is a big bottle just so you can see the title. It comes in a smaller bottle than this. But DDR Prime is amazing for the birth-death cycle. It helps us be clear on all the levels of what to stay, what to go, and what to create into being. So this is on the level of cells and genetic expression. It's also on the levels of feelings and etheric levels related to energy. Very powerful, very valuable in the face of these energetic aspects that essentially are just catalysts to unravel that old and birth in the new. One more specific oil is Juniper Berry. Juniper Berry helps us to go to the shadow side of ourselves and confront that which we don't want to see. So it's very much that Saturn energy that I talked about earlier. It helps us go within and look deeply so that we can then course correct and get on track with soul purpose. So close the gap between what we know and what we do. It helps us to feel safe and courageous in the face of deep shadow work, deep introspection. And while you may not have these specific oils, you may have a blend, and I do want to point that out. I'm not going to go into all the details, but doTERRA has some blends this time of the year that are likely in your collection. Holiday Peace, Holiday Joy, a new one that's become one of my favorites. I just got this bottle at the last BOGO, and it's close to being gone. It's called Northern Escape. Anyway, these have amazing blends of this Northern Escape. It's ridiculous. It has black spruce, which is really good for forgiveness stuff, Siberian Fir, balsam bark, cypress, which is all about going with the flow, cedarwood, lavender oil, hanaki, frankincense, nutka, cananga, clove. But so it's got some of the oils I mentioned. It's a great one. So the last area I specifically want to focus on are tools that help with creating coherence in our field, harmonic resonance. I've selected some of my go-tos right now. Peace is one of my number ones. Peace is a blend by doTERRA. It helps us not be micromanaging of ourselves and of others. So there is a tendency when we feel controlled by circumstance, controlled by authority, to parrot that within, just like a child learns from what's around it. We even subconsciously can do the same within ourselves, to be micromanaging of ourselves, other people around us. This helps imbue an inner coherence with Source, especially when we're feeling unsafe or disconnected. It's just an instant calm. Margoram is the next oil I want to talk about. Margoram is not necessarily one you'd say, oh, I want to grab some marjoram, but once you start using it, you will. It helps us open to a deeper sense of connection with our community. It helps soften ridges that we've built to isolate and protect ourselves. It's specifically helpful for that tendency when one has been hurt to become like a hermit and disconnect from getting close to people, places, and things because of those past hurts. So it can just help us feel safe, giving us a sense of protection, and help us feel more deeply engaged with our community. And that doesn't need to be on a literal level, although it often does correlate. It can just be that sense of feeling connected to the community, a deeper level of intimacy with others. Cedarwood is the next oil that is very similar to marjoram, but subtly different. I'm actually out of that because I've been using so much of it. Don't have a bottle here to show you, but cedarwood I often say is the difference between the tree and the forest, and feeling ourselves as both the tree and the forest. That sense of more emotionally connected to the collective, and working, feeling the support from and also supportive of that which is around us, and that profound sense of interconnectedness. Okay, the next few oils that I want to talk about in terms of creating coherence: Motivate and Passion. These are blends that go hand in hand. Motivate helps us feel energized to fulfill our soul purpose. It nudges us to get in action, and it makes us feel alive and on track, on point, on purpose, in spite of any self-sabotage circuits that might be attempting to call the shots. This helps us feel unstuck and in motion. Passion goes really nicely with this one because it also helps us take action in the face of our fears. In an enlivened way. It just helps us feel on point, have fun with our purpose, and fun with the discomfort that comes with getting out of our comfort zone, essentially. Citrus Bliss is the next oil in this category. This is also known as the invigorating blend. It helps break the desire to procrastinate, whether it is writer's block. It helps to break writer's block. It helps break what I call doer's block, just that thing that gets stopped up when we're in the face of that impulse to do our purpose. So it motivates us to take action, to have fun, to be open to be an open channel of creativity and divine insights. It's essentially kind of like a creative muse in a bottle. Anyway, all the citrus oils are uppers, and are very helpful this time of the year. Motivate has some citrus in it, and Citrus Bliss has a lot. But anyway, it's just important to note, whatever citrus you have, it's a good time to get it out because it gives you that upper feeling that is especially good when you're in the north like I am, where we have many days in a row of shades of gray oftentimes. It just lifts the mood. You do want to be mindful any citrus oils to not go in direct sunlight if you've put on a citrus oil. And do your homework with all of these oils, or reach out to me if you have questions. It is important to use oils safely. Okay, and the last and final oil that I want to talk about is Balance. Balance, also known as grounding blend, helps us to restore equilibrium. It gives us a sense of feeling rooted, safe, grounded. It's basically focused, calm alignment in a bottle. So that is one of my go-to favorites. And that's all for now. I encourage you all to bring out all the behaviors and the tools that are going to keep you in optimal harmonic resonance, that will help you stay aligned so that you can utilize these energetic shifts to be most advantageous right now. This storm of galactic unraveling, and these catalysts that are pulling us to express a new level of life. So important to be doing what it takes to facilitate that if you feel called. So anyway, thank you so much for listening to this video. Thank you for your support. If you did find this video valuable, please like, share, and subscribe to my channel. Reach out to me via the link below for more information. I do sell doTERRA products. I also do naturopathic consultations to help guide you and your family to what oils would be best, where to start, etc. So please reach out. I hope to hear from you and enjoy these energies. I will talk to you soon. Thank you.